Alright guys, so if you remember last, we did, we drew the Among Us character, and this is how I originally drew it, and I'm okay if you guys did yours this way, because this is how I originally did it. But I did tell you that you could add hats if you wanted, or a pet. You just had to make sure the pet was on this one, not on this one, because it wouldn't float. Now, I decided that I wanted to do hats and stuff, and I don't have enough room, so, and I also don't think I had enough room over here. So I redrew this, and this is what I came up with. You don't have to use this hat. Oh, it looks like my pen got on one spot, which it's going to bother me a lot. But see if I can get it off. It's probably going to mess up my paper, but yep, it's going to make it worse. Huh? It definitely didn't improve it. Wow. You know how many times I've drawn this, guys? Alright, well, we'll see what I can do with this later. Right now it's a mess, but I'll try to fix that later. Maybe I'll put something on it. Okay, but for now I'm just going to stick with what I got. Now, I explained to you guys that you could use markers as long as you have two tones. So in other words, as long as you have, if you're going to do your character in red, you need to make sure that you have a red and a red color, and then some kind of darker red, because you're going to have shadows. So I'm going to show you basically what I'm going to map out for mine. I suggest, if you outlined yours with pen, go back and kind of erase, make sure your pen's dry, and go and erase your pencil marks. But like I said, make sure your pen's dry, because otherwise you're going to do what I just did, which is smear it, and that's going to bother me. And I smeared it again. I don't know. Okay. I feel like this is a wash. It really is going to bother me. But that's all right. I'm just going to keep going, because it probably won't bother any of you that mine smeared. Just you take my error and learn from it. Don't make the same mistake I did, because if this was, I could lose points for that if that was me, you know, grading it being turned in. And this too, this mess, unless I figure out a way to include it. Okay. So this is what I have. So now I'm going to pick out my colors. Now I'm going to make this one here, I'm going to make him, or her, I'm going to make shades of pink. Okay. This one here, I'm going to make it shades of teal, and the reason why is because it's going to have a pink flamingo head, and I don't want pink on pink. This, I figure I'm going to make that with my shades of green, okay, for my alien. Now notice these are Sharpies. These are brand new. I literally just bought them last night, so they're really good Sharpies. They are not going to dry out on me. So if you're going to use Sharpie, you need to make sure that your Sharpies are going to be nice and fresh so that they won't dry out on you. I am also going to use my black. I'm trying to see. Oh, good. Had I known I had this, I would have used this and it wouldn't have smeared. But, okay. I'm going to start with my tongue spear thing. I know, I'm trying to see. I like my visual aids, and I did look some up, and some of them make the tongue the same color as the little guy. Not all of them, but some of them. So it's kind of hard to decide how I want to go about doing it. Some of them just make the tongue black. So
that's the original one.
Don't mind my daughter putting in her 2 cents. She apparently forgot that I was recording. Okay, so I'm just going to go with the black. So okay. I'm going to stop it right about there because I'm going to be gory and I probably shouldn't do this, but evil is okay. Now with your Among Us character itself, when you're shading this, you need to think about that. Start with your light because light's easier. You know, if I go over the spot that I'm going to color dark, it's okay because the dark will cover over it. I'm going to make it so this side's going to be my light side. The back side of my imposter is going to be my dark side. I'm just going to leave a little spot around because that'll be dark like a shadow from the hat. Try to shade all the same direction if you're using marker. Actually, I do the same thing when I'm using color pencil. And the reason for that is it tends to look neater. Be careful around objects, like other objects. So if you created a pet, make sure you're careful around that pet, because you don't want to accidentally color on top of it. I'm sure some of you noticed the 2 spots that I got on the face mask. That of course does not make me happy. Now remember, if you are going to use marker, you cannot shade this whole thing in the same color. You need to have 2 different shades you know, of the same color. So a dark pink, a light pink, a dark green, a light green, a dark blue, a light blue. Gray and black is another one. Because you don't want the whole thing to look flat. We're trying to give it some three-dimensional quality, and how do we do that? We add some different values, and that helps make it have the illusion of form. Okay. Okay. Alright. Okay, so that's the first layer. So now I'm going to go with my darker pink, and this is going to be my second layer. This layer I obviously have to be a little bit more careful about, because with this one I want to make sure that my lines look nice and neat. I don't want it to look scribbly. I don't want the edges to look bumpy. I don't want to go outside of my lines if I can avoid it. Okay, so you're going to continue with your darker shade until the two meet like that. Okay, and then I'm going to go into the other portion right here. And again, I'm adding that darker shade. I'm probably going to do a little bit of a shadow with this dark pink underneath of this too. Okay, I'm going to keep going with this. Alright. Now, obviously with, if you were going to use like a better type of marker, like an alcohol marker, you could even probably blend some of this. I've seen people use actual like rubbing alcohol with a Q-tip and kind of add some in there to blend it. Some people will take a little bit of marker and put it on a plate or something, and then add a little bit of alcohol to it, and then you can take a paintbrush and kind of blend. So there's a lot of different things that you could try out and see if you like. The only thing is, whatever you have, you're kind of stuck with it. So don't do that unless you're willing to redo your artwork if you make a mistake. Okay? So, same thing with this little hat. Probably going to have to go over it in dark right here, but right now I'm going to use my light. So my little alien, the light part is going to be right here, and then I'm going to go back in with my darker green for the shadows. And like I said, you can use color pencils. I'm fine with that. I know that color pencils are a lot easier to blend, so that's why I do not have a problem with using color pencils at all. I'm more used to using color pencils for projects like this, but I just got that set from Walmart and I wanted to try it out. Okay, and I do want to put a little bit of a shadow. There you go. Alright, I'm going to leave this for a little bit later, and I'm going to move on to this little guy. Okay, so this one I'm going to use the dark teal and the light teal. Remember, the light side's over this side of the body. It's not just because his face is there, so we want to make sure that kind of leave. This is all going to be light right here. And we're going to have the shadow on this side. Make sure you guys can see it. Okay. Probably gonna be a little bit of a shadow there. Okay, so this will be the light side. Alright, so now I'm just going to fill in this area, being really careful around the different spots. Now, remember, whatever you've got underneath, it's probably going to bleed through if you're using markers. So be really careful about what you have underneath. I was kind of aware that this was already going to happen. So, you know, I was kind of prepared that my sheet was going to be kind of messed up. Ooh, I almost grabbed pink. That would have been a horrible mistake. Okay, so now for the darker side of this one. This is a very dark blue, so I hope that it looks okay with it. This is actually a new shade of Sharpie that they just came out with, but I like it. Now, if you notice, these aren't very well blended. It's kind of just like a dark and light. It's a totally different look. Okay, it's definitely a different look than I'm used to. I'm used to more realism, really blending stuff. So it's hard for me. So if you have a hard time with it and you don't really like the way it looks, or you have a hard time allowing yourself to make it, you know, kind of cartoony like this, where it's got the, you know, light and dark without blending them together, then you can kind of practice and see what you can come up with as far as blending. I just know that my Sharpies don't really blend well, so there's not going to be really layers that you can do with these. Now, if you've got alcohol markers, they work differently, so you might be able to do a little bit of blending. You can play around with it, see what you can come up with. But for me, this is about the size of it. Okay, I know this is my little flamingo thing, and my flamingo thing is pretty much going to match my pink guy here. Yeah, because I don't really see any other options. Let me see if I have anything that I can use. Okay, we'll use this. See if this is. So this is how I kind of test to see if they'll go together as, and see, that doesn't really work. Let me see. I've got shorter ones. These are like the finer tip ones. I just don't think blending with those is going to work. So I'm going to stick with the colors that I already used. I'm just not going to mess around with it. Keep it the same. It'll work. Alright. So I'm going to do the light portion on my, actually I might use 3 because I know that it has a lighter face. I know the flamingo has a lighter face, so you know what? I'm just going to play around. If it's not exact, guys, I apologize for those that get hung up on it having to be exactly like the original. It's not going to be, because they did theirs digitally. Ooh, that's right. So this is why you start with your light, because I forgot what side my dark was on. So this side's the dark side. And obviously a little bit on the bottom too, because we want it to look three-dimensional. So now I'm going to go in. And that blends in a lot. Doesn't really show up much later. That's okay. So I'm going to go right here. And then I try not to let the marker stay on the paper for too long, because if you do, it'll sometimes bleed. And so it'll kind of spread throughout the whole thing, and we don't want that. Okay. That works. We'll give it a little bit of shadow right here. Alright. I believe its beak is black. So I'm going to go with my fine tooth black here. I'm going to leave a little bit for the gray. Okay. Alright. My gray. I hope the gray is not too dark. We'll find out in a minute. Because yeah, it's kind of dark. That's alright. Okay. Now, speaking of gray, I need that back. So, with my little UFO, I know that there's like 3 different colors that are going to be inside the UFO. I don't want to go with a really dark, the really dark gray for this part of the UFO. I want this to kind of stay light, so I'm actually going to make it this blue, and I know that's a little bit off, but I don't have a light gray. So you got to work with what you got. So I'm going to go with this color. Hoping you guys can see it. Yep, okay. Sorry, my table's gotten a little messy. It's because I was doing other projects too. Alright. Okay, and I'm going to add a dark gray here, and it almost looks black, so that's why I didn't want to do the whole thing in this. I mean, I guess I could have done gray and then black, but I think it's too close to the black. I wish my set came with a light gray, but alas, it did not. I am going to use, for the little shading around each one of these, I want to do a little bit, and I'm thinking I want to use this light blue because I don't want to go with the same color I've already used. So let's do a test. I guess that's what we're going to go with because I really don't know what else to do. So I'm going to use it first here. And it's supposed to just kind of to give the illusion of being glass, which it would be better if it was a light gray, but again, I don't have a light gray. Sometimes you'll see this, almost like a zigzag in glass. You can add a background if you want. If you want to give it some kind of scene where they're inside one of the maps, that's fine with me. The only thing I ask is that when you close this up, we should see nothing. We should not see any of the whatchamacallit scene at all. Now, I don't like how that doesn't line up, so just do yourself a favor and kind of line it up so that you can correct any parts that look like they're not really lined up. Okay, that looks better. I don't like this. Needs to be a little bit wider here. Yeah, you want it to look like it's lined up. Alright, sometimes you might need to step back to see it. Luckily, with me looking at it in camera, it's kind of my way of stepping back to look at it. I don't really mind how that turned out either. It kind of looks cool. So I'm right with that. But if you want to put a background on it, that'll work too. But again, make sure that your little scene is hidden when you fold it. So again, I'll need to see both. I'll need to see the folded version, and I need to see the unfolded for you to get full credit. If I only have one, you're only going to get 50. So I want to see both, okay? Because you have to show me the folded one so that I can make sure that nothing is showing from your scene. Okay? Alright guys, if you have any questions, just send me an email.